Simon Hill joins us. Welcome to New Zealand, matey.
Kia ora. Yeah, nice to be here. And the sun's out, so I brought it with me.
Yeah, look, quarterfinals to come, and then a semi-final at Eden Park on Tuesday. Before we go round by round, I want to go through some of the comments that some of the listeners have made and some of the discussion that's happened in New Zealand, and just tick a couple of boxes here and get your thoughts. Okay, around the criticism that this tournament, the standard of football, isn't comparable to the way that men play. What is your counter-argument to that?
Well, men aren't women and women aren't men. So, of course it's going to be different. Can you not just appreciate what the game is? And to be honest, I think the standard's excellent. Now, I first started covering women's football, and I don't cover it every week, it's true, but I first started covering women's football at the Olympics in 2004. And let me tell you, the difference between then and now is night and day. We've got full-time professionalism now. The players are proper athletes. The physicality is good. And crucially, the speed of the game has improved beyond any recognition since I first started watching it. So I think, if you're going to try and compare the men's and women's game, then it's not really a fair field, is it? We watch women's tennis and we watch men's tennis. Are they the same? Well, not really. But you can appreciate it in different ways. So I think it's been a great World Cup. I think the standard of football is excellent. Just enjoy the football. It's about the competition. It doesn't always have to be what's the best, is this the best or is that the best? Just enjoy it.
Yeah, to me the argument is, if you think like that, then you wouldn't watch the A-League after watching the Premier League and the Champions League. You wouldn't watch the ANBL because you've watched NBA. Sorry, keep going.
You're absolutely, correct. And in football terms, we are a global game. We have competitions in 200 different countries around the world. Now, 195 of those are not going to be of the same standard as the Premier League or La Liga or Serie A. So does that mean that we just all pack up our ball and go home and just watch, for the leagues thousands of miles away? Of course not. You go and watch your teams because you're emotionally invested in them and because you want them to win. It doesn't always have to be what is the standard or what am I watching? I hear this argument a lot in Australia about, the AFL is the best competition in the world. And that's true. But equally, by definition, it's also the worst because it's the only one.
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah.
It's a very circular argument, and it's one I don't quite understand, to be honest.
Simon Hill is with us, A-League caller as well, and is going to be calling quarterfinal and semi-final over the next couple of days of the Women's World Cup. Yeah, so, the next question was going to be, is it boring? Well, you see, I don't find it boring. And I tell you why one of the things I don't find boring is because when I watch sport, I love the unpredictability of it. I don't care what sport it is, but if I'm watching sport the whole time, and my big criticism of international rugby is it's one of those high-level competitions where it's very rare you get an upset. The All Blacks aren't going to lose to Uruguay in the World Cup. We know that. It's just not going to happen. And yet the beautiful thing about this particular tournament to me is I've looked at it at the start and my male brain has connected with, Brazil must be a good side because their men's side is. Germany must be a good side because their men's side is. And then the delight that all of a sudden I'm seeing names in this knockout phase which I didn't expect to be there, which just enhances for me the whole purpose and point of watching.
Who's calling it boring? Why are they thinking it's boring?
Well, I think that some people get locked into this thing that, hey, look, it isn't, watching Messi play. But then again, as you just rightly pointed out, Simon, there's only one of him in the world. So every time you go and watch any football, there isn't another one of him on the pitch.
Yeah, they're strange arguments to have. When New Zealand play, Leo Messi's not on the pitch. Does that mean you don't go and support the team? It's about emotional investment, and obviously I understand that it's more difficult now that the football ferns have gone out to connect with it in that regard. But you can still watch very high-level sport. And this is the best level of women's football in the world. So to say it's boring, I mean, this has been one of the most exciting Women's World Cup in years, because a lot of the favourites have gone out.
Yeah.
Brazil got knocked out. Canada got knocked out. They're the Olympic gold medalists. Germany, massive surprise. That final day drama in that group involving Germany was one of the best nights of sporting drama I've witnessed. And I was in a pub in Melbourne watching two screens simultaneously, because one goal could have changed the outcome for all four teams in that particular group. That's sport at its best when it's on a knife edge. So I think to say it's boring completely misunderstands the concept of the sport. And you're right. To me, the Rugby World Cup, which is going to take place in a month or two's time, I mean, how many teams can win that?
About three, yeah.
Maybe four?
Maybe.
Now, this one, we're down to the last day, and really any one of them could win it. So,
see, I look at it also in terms of the, why the record attendances, because the domestic game doesn't get these crowds. But, this is harsh economic times. We're getting a full Eden Park for two teams playing women's football that don't involve New Zealand. People aren't being forced to go along. A lot of naysayers, they're giving away the tickets, or the tickets are cheap. Well, great that the tickets are cheap and you fill the stadiums up. But to me, on a Tuesday night in rainy, wintry old Auckland, to get that kind of crowd out at Eden Park, which isn't an easy place to get to go to come home from, all of that kind of stuff. People don't go into a shop and buy a pair of jeans if they don't like the jeans and don't like the shop.
Absolutely. And, even if the tickets are cheap, and even if one or two of them might be free, and I'm not sure that's the case, to be honest, you've still got to make the effort and go. And, Eden Park, as I know, it's got various parts of the stadium that are open. So when it's, winter in Auckland, it's going to be a bit chilly in the stands. Yep. So I think a lot of people are very invested in this Women's World Cup and in the sport of football generally. I mean, obviously, the trick for us as a sport in this neck of the woods is to translate what we're seeing in the stands all over Australia and New Zealand into our domestic competition.
Yes,
and
that's right.
A different question entirely. But again, it's about emotional connection. And, I don't know about New Zealand, but what we're seeing in Australia is a lot of these migrant communities are turning out in their thousands because they've got that cultural connection, that identity with their heritage. And the trick for us is to get that connection with the clubs that represent the cities they live in. It's probably a longer-term fix, but, that's got to be the aim.
And that's where the administrators have got to be pouring all their efforts and energies, creative thought processes and marketing skills into. All right, Simon, thanks. Let's park all of that and let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is 4 quarterfinals. And I find it fascinating that a guy with your experience says you can throw a blanket over these 8 teams now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would say that France and Japan, to me, are the two favourites, given the way that they've played. France whacking in 10 goals in the last couple of games. The Japanese have only conceded 1 goal in 4 games, and they look slick with their passing. Would you agree those are the 2 best teams?
I'd certainly say Japan in their half of the draw look to be one of the outstanding teams. There's no doubt about that. So, I mean, they banged in goals for fun. They absolutely hammered Spain, who are another fancied team, by 4-0. They've had a long development. This Japanese team, they've been winning World Cups and getting to finals at junior level for quite a few years now. So this is almost like a golden generation for them. They take on Sweden, who of course knocked out the United States of America, who'd not lost a game in the finals since 2011. So can you rule Sweden out? I don't know. The French, yes, looking very good, with the caveat that, 2 caveats. First of all, in the last 16, they played Morocco, who are probably the weakest with respect to them, probably the weakest team in the last 16. And in the quarters, of course, they face Australia in Brisbane. So when you're facing the host nation and a full house of screaming fans all against you, that could make it tricky for them. And they've already lost to Australia in a friendly just before the tournament started. So, it's not to say that they can't win. Of course they can. They've got 2 wonderful players, Wendy Renard, central defender, and Eugénie Le Sommer, the striker, 2 of the best in the world in their positions. and they can certainly defeat Australia, but equally the reverse is true.
Sam Kerr, I mean, we just don't see the press. We don't sort of get, what you're getting on that side of the ditch. But I mean, the potential of her to turn into a Kathy Freeman, I mean, that big in terms of Australian sport?
Yeah. I mean, she is, to be honest. Her name is everywhere. When I was flying over to Auckland yesterday, I had a look at the local paper, and front and back page were both Sam Kerr. Now, in an AFL city like Melbourne, that speaks volumes. Her image is everywhere. She's been used to sell this World Cup, really, in Australia. So, the fact that she had that injury was headline news. And to be honest, for a week, I was getting sick of hearing the question, is Sam playing? Is she fit? Now, she came off the bench in the win against Denmark, so she's now available. There's going to be an almighty clamour for her to start against France in the quarterfinals. Personally, I'd stick with the team that they've got, because Mary Fowler has been terrific in that false nine role, offers them something a little bit different to Sam Kerr, and maybe save Sam to get a right, 100% right for the semi-final, which could be against England if they beat Colombia, and that would be huge, obviously.
4 quarterfinals, mate. 8 teams left. Pick your 4 semi-finalists for me, please.
Okay, I'm going to go for Australia, England, Japan, and the Netherlands.
Wow. Okay. That last one's a bit of a surprise. Yeah. All right.
Well, they reached the final 4 years ago, where they were beaten by the Americans. And, even though the Spanish have improved, the fact that they got belted by Japan by 4-0, they've had some issues behind the scenes, which a lot of teams have, overpaying conditions. I just think that the Dutch might be too good for them.
Hope Eden Park is going to turn it on for you, mate. You're going to have a packed house there. Look forward to the call very, very much.
Thanks, mate. All the best.
Devlin.
I was past to COVID. I met me missus.
The Platform.